haven't got the exact title for it yet, but it's all to do with living a sexual, soulful and shameless life, and really embodying ourselves as the sexual being that we are and not feeling shameful about that. Hence why my title, Slut, Swinger, and Thank You for the Love, and Sexual Healer, is actually all me, right? But at different stages of my life, and I've actually changed my beliefs around the word slut, because I think there's just too much slut shaming in the world, and I have definitely felt that way before. I felt very judged for my sexual desires, and so I like to believe that a slut is someone who is sexually liberated with unlimited talents, okay? So whenever I hear that word, I find it empowering, and I've made it mean that for me. So, you know, you can choose to make it disempowering, or you can choose to create a new meaning. So if anyone tries to call me that, which people really don't, I actually end up feeling flattered. I'm like, well, thank you. Yes, I am sexually liberated. I do have unlimited talents. So feel free to use the slut word in a really empowering way. And I think this is how we need to target that whole slut shaming thing, is just turning it around, embracing ourselves as sexual beings. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about that, and I'm going to share with you some of my crazy, wild, that part of me that really explored that part of my sexuality to a point where I knew that, well, basically became completely disconnected and didn't even want to have sex, and that's when I got into sexual healing. So I think this is very common for a lot of people, particularly, you know, we so many of us have our wild, crazy phases, sexual phases, and then at some point we become disconnected. At some point we just like we're not in our bodies, and sex takes on a whole new meaning for us, or we just aren't able to fulfill our desires, or get connected to our desires, or know what we want, or surrender to pleasure, or even understand that we're worthy of pleasure, or, you know, perhaps it's always been about other people's pleasure. So that's what I want to talk about in the sexual healing stuff, is really looking at what is it that we can heal sexually. And when we heal ourselves sexually, this is when we step out of shame and we step into worthiness. And that is really what I believe the key is to healing our shame, and feeling worthy is working on our sexual selves. Like, it's key, and that is the power of sexual healing, and why I feel so passionate about it, and I'm here to share this with you guys. So let's get into it. Let's not waste too much time here. This probably won't be an hour like my last one. Went a bit overboard, but I have such amazing positive feedback and people are already using the practices and just messaging me, telling how amazing it is. So it's really important that I feel like I need to keep doing these live streams. So you're going to hear lots more from me. So I don't know how much detail I should go into, but I'll leave some for the book. So basically, I grew up as a good Catholic girl. I was a good Catholic girl in an all-girls school. I was pretty shy, pretty quiet, didn't know how to talk to boys. Can you imagine, right? Me, quiet and shy. But I'm just trying to adjust this thing here. It says not quite sitting right. Okay, let's go down a bit. It's because it's not clipped in properly, duh. Do you know, I actually, for this live stream, I decided to put on makeup, and then I put on perfume, and I was like, EJ, they can't smell you, but just so you know, I smell really good right now. Thank you to Victoria's Secret Angel, very appropriate. So if you can smell me, let me know. And please say hello. I'm waiting for you guys to say hello and let me know that you're there. Or perhaps you don't want to comment on a live stream that talks about sex. Is that what it is? That would make a lot of sense. So don't be shy. So basically I grew up really shy, very quiet, didn't know how to talk to boys. I remember the first time, my first kiss, he dumped me because I didn't know how to give him a blowjob. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, well, I knew what it was, but I was like, oh my God, I don't know. I was like, seriously, hey, Sandra, yes, a non-shy person. I'm going to like that just for that. Awesome. So I remember I was 15 at the time. I was a bit of a late bloomer compared to most people, but I was quite what they called frigid, right? So I really didn't know, I really had no clue what I was doing when it came to boys. And yeah, I can remember that I got dumped because I didn't know how to give this. Well, didn't even like. He was like, can I have a, like, will you give me a blowjob? And I was like, oh my god, I don't know how to do that. Like, oh my god, I'd like never even touched a penis before. And then meanwhile, my friend was on the side of the road giving his friend a blowjob, like on the side of the road, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so not doing that. Like, so yeah. So I think after that, I created this belief that I had to be really good at that. Like, I have no shame in saying that now. It's like went on my mission so that I, wouldn't get dumped. And also the belief that I had to please. I had to please to keep a man. I had to be worthy, to all that kind of stuff. Sex. Oh, where's that? Awesome. So yeah. Then I ended up getting involved with someone, and actually, there was a time. I know that's a really long story. Anyway, there's a time when I got called a slut at school by like a whole group of boys. There's a big story behind that, but I won't get into it. Like, they were chanting the word slut. Meanwhile, like, I'd only kissed 2 boys in my life, and I was a virgin, right? So it's pretty funny, like how that ended up playing out. But anyway, it was actually, I liked it because finally, like, someone noticed me. I was like, oh, I'm being noticed, like, because before I felt like really invisible. So then that's when I started to realize how your sexuality, the power of your sexuality as a woman, and how it can get your attention, and how it will get you noticed, and how you can use it, but not in a healthy way. So that's pretty much what happened, is I became someone who thought I was empowered sexually, but actually I was extremely disempowered. So I ended up in a relationship not long after that, when I was 16, 17, and it was highly sexual. I lost my virginity to him, and I just was like, I'm just going to get this over and done with. And the whole relationship was based around sex and money. So this is at a time where I really started to associate my self-worth as either being to be able to provide sex or being able to provide money. So there was, and sex and self-worth are intrinsically connected, so is money. Money and self-worth, okay? So the two kind of things that generally we really connect to. If we have more money, we're worthy, or if we are able to be, good sexually, then we're worthy, or we can keep someone, or if we provide sex, then we're of value, that kind of stuff. So if any of this stuff is resonating for you guys, let me know. And it's really, really common, particularly for women, around the self-worth and the sex, like massive. So, after that relationship ended, it had become abusive, and after that ended, I was pretty devastated. I was not treated the best, and I allowed myself to be in that position, and I moved to Australia, and I basically decided that I would sleep with as many people as possible. So, the general, they're going out partying every weekend, hooking out with lots of guys, and I was, I lost a lot of weight. I had an eating disorder, bulimia, so I lost all this weight because in my past relationship I was called fat, I was called ugly, and so I dropped all this weight, and I moved to Australia, and then I was going out, and I was being noticed by men, and I was having like well-known footy players like try to hook up with me, and that's other stories. And I really didn't give a shit. I felt like I was using them. I didn't want to connect with them. I didn't want their numbers. I really didn't want to have any sort of connection, and because I was, obviously had not done any healing from the past relationship, and decided that this is way of me being powerful and really protecting myself, really keeping myself safe, and using sex as a way. Hey, beautiful. Thank you for all the likes. And so, yeah, I used it as a way to feel some sort of power. Like I had power, like the power of the pussy, right? The power over these men, if I could keep. And then I would never get attached to any of them, and I would just keep finding new ones, and then get more attention, and more being wanted, and more being noticed, and more and more and more. And it was like an addiction, effectively. It was like a sex addiction. And it would be that really high, that massive high in being in that hookup. And oh my God, like when I look back, it's like such a blur. Like none of them really like stood out for me. Like, I'm just like, I can't even remember what happened. Like, what did I do with that? But like, I literally don't even remember. Like, this is it. Like, this is gonna really show you guys how bad it was. But let's not judge it. But like, I remember going out one night and I went up to this guy. I was like, he looks so familiar. Where do I know him from? And I go up and I'm like, so how do I know you? And he's like, you hooked up with me last weekend. I was like, oh my God, so bad. But literally my friends would have a tally of every weekend, we'd be on a tally of how many. And they were going to have a party for me when I reached 100. So I think I was about maybe 24 when that happened. So, yeah, and it was just crazy. Like, and underneath, you know, was that high of getting that notice, getting that attention. But then there was this underlying feeling of emptiness. There was this underlying feeling of loneliness. But then I'd just go drink and I'd party and I'd have the same thing happen every weekend. It was like a cycle. It was like they just numb out these feelings of pain, and they would, you know, like sex was a number, basically. That's what I was using sex to number. It was just, sex was validation, sex was power, sex was numbing the, you know, the pain and the hurt from the last relationship, and they're not feeling good enough, and they're not feeling wanted. So I'd just be trying to find that in ways and try and get that. And this is very common, extremely common with a lot of women, and also men too, that are just really afraid to connect and afraid to open up, and underneath are wanting intimacy and connection, but are afraid to get hurt and protecting themselves and trying to feel wanted, trying to feel loved, and looking at through those sexual encounters. And so then I eventually moved to Sydney, and I was sort of similar thing. And then I had my friends there were quite a bit judgmental of the way that I was in that way, and I just didn't feel accepted. I didn't feel that like they understood, or that they really got me, and you know, they could talk behind my back and all that kind of stuff about the way I was being. And I mean, I was pretty wild, I have to admit. And that's when I started. I would date a lot, like a casual date a lot, but every time I started to get feelings for someone, I'd somehow self-sabotage, or I'd reject them, or I'd push them away somehow, like, and then of course it was always their fault, and they weren't ready, or they weren't available, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was never really me, but it was totally me, right? So I was in Sydney, and this is when I stumbled on, I was on some dating sites, and I stumbled on this site called Red Hot Pie, which, if anyone knows it, it's a swingers site, and like, yeah. I was like, oh, what's this? Let's check this out. And I was like, this is interesting. And then I ended up meeting a couple on there. So I had my first experience with this couple on there, and we went out for dinner, and then we ended up going out another night, and I went back to their house. And like, it's a bit of a blur, but I remember in the morning, all I could remember was like this pink double ender, like flashbacks. And I felt just this incredible shame, like, what have I done? Like, what am I doing? Like, this is like, and I drank all the champagne, so I didn't actually remember what happened. Exactly, just little flashes, and I woke up in their spare room, and I'm like, where the fuck am I? Like, oh my God, like, and so I felt all this shame around that, and I ended up, then I moved to Melbourne, and so in Melbourne, I started to meet people that, through actually other friends, not through the website, but I started to meet people that actually were swingers, and I started to go into these swingers parties. So my first one was called a Per Party. And then I met these other people that ran mixed parties on there, which are like pretty full on, but awesome swingers party. I don't swing anymore, but yeah, it was. And Per's not so much. It's more like a meet and greet kind of. Oh, sometimes it can be a little bit, but if you're on here and you know, and you've been to one of these parties, you will know what I mean, right? I have lots of my friends on here that have been into that kind of stuff. So when I got into this swinging world, I was like, oh my God, these people get me. They understand me. I feel like I can explore my sexual desires in a space that is judgment free, a space that people like encourage you. Like, people like want you to sleep with their boyfriends. Like, I had friends in the past that were like worried, like, oh my God, is she gonna like hook up with my boyfriend, stuff like that. Like, whereas now it was like, you know, they wanted, like, it's really interesting to be having in this space where people were just so sexually open to exploring so many different things. And wow, it was like amazing. Like, I just loved the conversations that we used to have. It was really a whole nother world. Like, it was just, and it became my world. Like it was my lifestyle. Like, you know, obviously work during the week. Then on weekends, it was always hanging out with my swinger friends, going to the swingers parties, you know, having sex with like ridiculous amounts of people, and it was just like normality. Like, it became normal for me. It became normal to live this crazy life that was just, yeah, swingers parties are the best fun. Yeah, look, I had a lot of fun with them. I definitely enjoyed my time with that. But I realised it was actually not coming from a conscious place. I realised that it was still wanting to be seen. It was still wanting to be validated. It was still wanting to be noticed. Because as a single girl in the swing scene, you're called what's called a unicorn, right? And a unicorn is obviously unique, and someone that's into it as well. And so I had on Red Hot Pie, like, I had all these validations, and I was on Adult Matchmaker as well, and so it was just party after party. And then, you know, people, like, they'll meet you and then they'll validate you. Oh yeah, this person was awesome and they did this and that's so sexy and you have to have a good time with them and blah blah blah. So I was like getting all these validations, and it's just funny. It's kind of funny how they call it validations, right? Because literally I was like seeking validation, and I was like, oh, look at all my validations. So I was working my way up in this. You know, people would message me and they're like, oh, you seem like you're really genuine and you're really into this stuff and da-da-da. And I ended up moving to WA for work, and I found like there wasn't that many swingers parties there. So I was like, well, I'm going to start some. So that's what I did. I started running swingers parties in Perth that were like very... Oh, and by the way, if you haven't been a swinger, which is probably most people... they're not the keys in the bowl thing. That's totally stereotypical and totally like not how it is, by the way. A lot of them have what's called, you know, screening, and they basically people will have to apply, and they'll have to show their photos, and they'll have to have like referrals and things like that. Depends what kind of party you go to. Like, I've been to some parties where I'm like, oh, I'm so not playing at this party. No offense to anyone, but you know, sometimes you want to be selective about who you share your sexual energy with. But there's some parties that I've been to that were just not quite, it wasn't feeling the vibe, right? And you never have to do anything you don't want to do. There's no pressure to do anything that you don't want to do, so you can say no and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I've gone to parties where I've just literally socialised, and not necessarily because I wasn't wanting to have sex with the people, just because that's what I was feeling in that night. And I actually got to the point where I went to swingers parties and I would just like chat and hang out with people because they were my friends, and I was like, a bit over. They're like, this is when I started to become really disconnected to my sexual self, which in fact I'd actually been disconnected all along, because when we're actually coming from that unconscious place, we're not really connected to our sexual energy authentically, okay? We think we are, but we're not, okay? So this is where you've got to start really looking at, where are my desires coming from? Are they coming from this place of needing to be seen, needing to be validated, needing to be noticed? Or are they coming from this place of really, really connecting and feeling alive in my body and wanting to explore this consciously and deeply and intimately with someone that's I'm connected to? So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad or wrong to not do things like that. I'm just saying sometimes be aware when you're making your choices about when you're having sex with people. So I ran these swingers parties. Now, it was sort of, this is when I started to really get, I decided that, no, let me tell you that. Let me get clear on this. Because I was running the parties, I was more busy running around, looking after everyone, you know, running these party games and all this. They were super fun, by the way. They called them spice parties. And so basically, I decided that, I actually was having more fun, not necessarily playing. And so over time, I actually got to the point where, and there's a whole bunch of other things that happened over the next few years after that, which I'm not ready to talk about openly yet, that's coming. That's going to be in my book. So, because there's a shitload more to go, like really awesome, like stuff that is, there's a lot of stigma around. There's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that I really want to share. I'm not just quite ready to share it yet, but it will be coming out in my book, which I popped the link up on here, which is tinyurl.com/shameless. Oh my God, I can't even get it out properly. Shameless. And yeah, there'll be a lot of confessions. It's like a lot of stories, confessions, and then practices for the reader to really go into looking at your own stuff, healing your shame, owning your story, because that's what it's about. It's not about making anything that we've done wrong or bad ever. It's about really owning it and having compassion. Oh, awesome! Thank you. Compassion and empathy for self, and knowing where our choices may not have always been conscious, but it's not making ourselves wrong or bad for that, okay? And then clearing our blockages and clearing sexual conditioning that has actually made us make these choices, because that's kind of how we've been conditioned. So basically I got to this point. So we're going to skip a few years. Yeah, a few years. And I'm going to come back to that at some point on here, and in my book, I will be talking about it. That's not enough for a live stream, let me tell you. It's a whole book there and more. So, but I will be coming out in bits and pieces. So what you're going to find is that I'm going to start saying these things in bits and pieces. So yeah, just keep an eye out on my live streams. So, so I got to this point. I was in this relationship. I got into this relationship. And I think a lot of people are going to resonate to what I'm about to share with you, because it's one of the most common things that people come to see me for as a tantra practitioner, sexual healer, sex coach. Like, then one of the number one things that people come to me for, and this is mostly men that come to me for this problem, I don't have enough intimacy in my relationship. Or I don't have any, and this is so common. But I really get it. Like, I can drop into this whole having empathy for them, but I can also drop into the woman's world of why the cat might be. Why is she not necessary? And this can go both ways, not just, it can go vice versa as well. I can drop into that space because I was that woman. Like, I was that woman where I was like this crazy, wild, sexual woman. Like, I do crazy stuff, to being in this relationship and not wanting to have sex at all. And I was like, what the hell happened to me? I don't understand. Now, on a side note, about a year before this relationship, I had done a lot of healing. I went through, a spiritual awakening, and I'd started to realize that I'd been living this life trying to seek being wanted, being validated, being all this stuff. So now, sex didn't have the same meaning for me. I didn't need sex because I'd done this healing on myself around that self-worth. I'd done some self-worth, self-love healing. It's like I didn't need to use sex to try and get that anymore. So it had a completely different meaning, right? So when I was with my partner at the time, and we were, obviously being intimate, I was just like, oh, I'm just happy for cuddles. And I just couldn't. I had no drive. No, there's nothing. It was just like I was numb, basically. And he's like, what happened to this girl you told me about that you used to be? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, there's seriously something wrong with me. How can this? And I always told myself when I was this crazy sexual woman that I would never be one of those. I would never be one of those women. How could you be one of those women that doesn't want to have sex? I just don't. How could you? I didn't understand it. That's just crazy that anyone would not want to be intimate, especially with their partner. Because when I was a swinger, ultimately, underneath all the swinging, I really just wanted to have someone. I would be happy to give all this up for someone that I could deeply connect with and have intimate sex with. And then when I had it, I don't have sex anymore. So it's quite funny. But and I think this happens so much, especially when you know, people come in to get in a relationship, the happy chemicals are really high, they're all lovey-dovey, they're getting excited, the sexual chemistry is like crazy, and then it wears off, right? So, what had happened is I had really just become so disconnected from my body, to the meaning of sex, and also I just, like, it was just disconnection from my sexual energy. And looking back also, was that now that I know what I know about sex through all the crazy amount of training I've done, is that, you know, he also wasn't taking the time to wake my body up, to get me aroused. Like, it was like, let's just get in there, let's just get in there and bang, 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 and we're done. And I'm like, what about, you know, I need to get excited, right? So actually, a woman needs 20 minutes to half an hour before she'll be actually properly aroused and ready for penetration. So just a side note on that, guys, like, you know, we can get aroused and get excited if, you know, maybe we're not feeling it at the moment, but we need time, you know, we need that time to get aroused. Our men's positive pole is their bottom half of their body, right? So they get aroused like that and they're ready to go. But woman is their top half. They need their top half and their breasts and their neck and their mouth. Everything needs to be aroused first before going. And so many guys, they just come in and they go straight for your vagina and they're like, yep, bang. And you're like, whoa, I'm so not even ready for that yet. I'm like, you know, ultimately a woman should not need lube. Ultimately, she should be lubricated enough already, but you have to prepare her, right? So, yeah, so that wasn't happening either. Like, we weren't taking the time, and I also didn't know how to communicate with him about that, because I was actually just so disconnected from what I wanted, because my whole life, it was always been about pleasing the other person. And blowjobs, basically. But all because this guy dumped me when I was like 15 because I didn't know how to, but that actually happens, right? So I had these beliefs there that, you know, I had to please, and I didn't even know how to receive. I didn't know how to receive properly. I didn't know how to surrender to pleasure. I didn't even know that I was worthy of receiving pleasure. And I didn't know how to communicate with him. Like, I was so disconnected from my body and from my wants that I didn't even know what I wanted. Like, I was completely happy to not ever have sex. Like, I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, you know, it was just really, it was just like, I can't even imagine being that way now, but I totally get it. So I totally get it. Like, let's not blame the man, let's not blame the woman, let's, you know, look at taking self-responsibility and look at what's really going on. There's nothing wrong, okay? It's just that we have to, like, almost unlearn what we've been conditioned and start relearning, or start really having the awareness of what we already know, because we already know, but we don't know what we don't know, right? So this is why I teach what I teach. It's to help people to really awaken that knowledge and awaken that which is already within them, so that they can start getting connected to their sexual energy in the healthy way, okay? So my focus is really to help people to get connected to their authentic sexual power. This is not the sexual power where you are getting, you know, unhealthy needs met, or needs met in an unhealthy way. This is not the sexual power where you're trying to feel some worth, or to feel, you know, please somebody else, which is connected to worth. Hi, Chrissy. Awesome to see you on here. This is about sexual power that comes from completely inside, completely working with our sexual energy, channeling it into the rest of our lives. This is when we shift from having low vibration orgasms, which are ejaculation and clitoral orgasm, by the way, into high vibration orgasms, full body orgasms, cervical orgasms, womb orgasms, G-spot orgasms. That's all right, honey. You can watch the replay, so you can either go or you can jump back on later. But I think you'll really love this one. And so it's about looking at that conditioning that has kept us small and kept us stuck in our sexuality, and getting bored and getting in a rut and getting you know, even sexual issues. It's all to do with conditioning, okay? So it's all to do with, our sexual experiences when we were younger and how they've shaped our sex life. And so the first thing I had to, so what ended up happening is that this actually caused a lot of issues in that relationship I was in, and we actually ended up splitting up for that and a couple of other reasons, but I had a lot to do with it, okay? And I see this, and it's sad, is that so many people coming to me, like, I just don't have any, where's that intimacy we had when we first met? Like, we just don't have that intimacy, and like, I totally get it, and I know it doesn't have to be that way. Thank you, Leanne. Yes, I decided I've got to just keep putting this out there, so I have lots more coming. This is just the beginning. So what I did is I rang up my friend who's a sex coach, and I was like, I need to do something about it. Funny that, like, I need someone as a sex coach, and I actually had already spoken to her briefly about it. I said, you need to do this and this, which I never did. Like, and this is the thing, right? I do teach people the same thing. If they do the work, massive transformations. If you leave it and you put it off, guess what? Nothing changes, right? So, I wish I had done it sooner, but it's all perfect anyway. So I went and had a tantra massage, and what happened in the tantra massage was that she could feel all these blockages around my vagina and my pelvis, and all these energetic blockages. And she said to me, this is the energy of the DNA of all the men you've been with. And I was like, oh shit, that's gonna be a lot. and yeah, she's like, yeah. So she cleared some of it, but I had to continue doing practices at home. I started doing some breathwork practices. I started working with yoni eggs for cleansing, and I started doing more protection practices. So when I was having sex, I was protecting my energy more, and I was cleansing my energy, and not taking on other people's stuff. So because, when you have sex with people, you can energetically pick up so much. Like, it's crazy, and that just doesn't, like, disappear. You have to do the work. You have to clear the stuff. So that was the first thing that I did, was really looking at just clearing the stuff from energetically around that, and then really going into some practices, being more conscious around my sexual practices. And this is when I started learning tantra massage. So I said to her, will you teach me how to do this? Because I'd love to do this for my clients. And so that's what she did. And so this is when I started getting into tantra, and then I just went crazy learning all these, going to all these workshops and online programs, and I just was like, yeah, I have to do this. Like, this is I was on a mission, right? And it never ends. I still do that. I just learn, because it's just been amazing, like, how much I've learned. Like, I look at sex and completely, like, the way that we're conditioned about sex is, like, totally messed up. Like, it's totally, like, it's so not what sex is. It's just, like, so messed up. So when you start to know this stuff, everything changes, and it just not for your sex life, but your whole life, right? Just everything, it flows, because you're working with your sexual energy, you're healing your shame, you're coming into self-worth, and then, when you feel worthy, everything in your life shifts, and you truly live what I call a soulgasmic life, and it's amazing, right? So what I started to find was that I was starting to get excited again to have sex. I was connected to my sexual energy. One of the first breathwork practices I did, I actually cried, because I felt all this shame come up. Like, I was doing a conscious self-pleasure practice, and I felt this shame, because I realized that I had shame around feeling pleasure, like that, because when we go into pleasing and being givers, like, some people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm such a giver, like it's really funny. They're like, I just love giving, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, this is not necessarily a good thing, because I know, it shows me that there's generally a lack of self-worth, or you're totally disconnected from being able to receive pleasure, which goes hand in hand, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing either. Like, let's not judge it, it's good or bad. I'm trying to find a better word for that, but it's something that it's nice to be a giver, obviously, but you've got to allow yourself to receive. And that's what Tantra's all about. Tantra, especially Tantra massage, and this is why so many clients come to see me, And like, it's so funny watching some of my clients, they're like, so I've never really received before. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But I allow them, and I obviously hold space so that I really allow them. But I'm also about getting them to notice where their head might be going. I mean, obviously it's about getting them out of their head, but I notice how they're starting to feel. Some of them feel really uncomfortable with receiving, because when we drop into receiving, truly surrendering, this is when we're the most vulnerable. Like some people that give so much, it's because they're so afraid to be seen. Like they just want to give, like, I'm not worthy, so I'm going to give, and I'm going to show you how valuable I am, because ultimately I don't want to be seen. I'm afraid to be seen, I'm afraid to be vulnerable, and maybe if you see me, you might not want me. Maybe if you see me, so I'm just going to give to you. So so this is, excuse me, very common. And you know, people feel proud that they're givers, right? And I'm like, oh. I said, let's work on receiving. Let's work on helping you to surrender to pleasure. And it's hard for some people, and I get it, because this is totally what I've been through. And it's still a work in progress. Like, I still have to keep allowing myself to drop into that. I'm not trying to control things. And as a facilitator, I have to be controlling things a lot. So in my own personal experiences, it's a really chance for me to surrender. So there's so much stuff. And then there's stuff around being able to trust someone too. Like, you know, I had no trust. Like, how could I couldn't trust anyone that could actually hold space for me to surrender. You know, it was, so there's so much there that I've had to work on. But mainly, like, getting into Tantra and sexual healing is what really, really changed my life. And I was able to actually embrace everything. Like, I don't look back on anything that I've done, any of it, any of the sexual stuff I've done and regret it. I don't look back and shame myself or make myself wrong or bad for it. Like, I was like, yeah, this is a part of my life. It was awesome and I had fun. And yes, I chose it from a place that might have not been completely conscious. And then some things I did choose. Like, like there's some stuff that I'm super proud of. Like, that I would never, you know, I mean, none of it would change. And plus, I've got some freaking awesome stories. Like, hello. And I've made some amazing friends and connections that I would never change. So really, it's about accepting all of us and loving all of us, especially the sexual part of us that is just there, like wanting to explore more, wanting to feel safe to explore more, wanting to surrender. And so this is really what I'm here to teach and why I wanted to share this with you. And so one of the key things is that we have to look at is basically deconditioning. And deconditioning ourselves. What are our sexual beliefs? What's our conditioning? To heal our shame, to heal guilt, which is going to ultimately heal disconnection in our relationships. Because if you start feeling more connected to yourself because you're healing this shame and sexual blocks, then you're going to feel connected to, oh, thank you, Leanne. Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, I feel loved up now. So yeah, we're going to feel more connected in our relationships. Also, you know, it's key to learn how to communicate. How do we communicate about what we want? How do we get connected to what we want? Because I've really had to learn. Like, one thing that was also there for me was that it was not okay to want for myself. Like, I had to believe that it's not okay to want for myself. Like, that's crazy, right? It's crazy, but it's been there. Like, I noticed it come up as a workshop, and they were like, so now put your hand up and tell everyone what your sexual fantasies are, and then we're going to play it out. And I was like, oh, what is my sexual fantasy? I don't know. I've done so much stuff. I don't know. Like, and ultimately, I did know, but it was like I was like, oh no, just won't. Maybe, I don't know if I should put my hand out. I don't know, but can I ask that? Will they really want to do that with me? Like, me? Why would they want to do that with me? Like, and no, someone else is more important. I mean, there's more attractive women here. I mean, I'm sure that they would not want to do this with me. They would, all that kind of stuff. And then so I didn't participate, and I was like, I'm just honouring my boundaries, which, you know, I felt like I was at the time, but afterwards, it wasn't that I was honouring my boundaries, it was actually that I didn't feel like I could ask for what I wanted. Because when I got back and I journaled, I was like, okay, this is what I really wanted. This is what I would love to have experienced. And it was actually about surrendering to pleasure. And it was like, I didn't think I could actually handle, because I would be like, okay, I want 4 people I'm just going to lay there and you're just going to pleasure me, right? And that for me was like, oh, how can I ask for that? Like, why would people want to do that? I don't understand. It was really good notice. Like, I'm glad that I got that massive noticing, but it was this whole, because I've been so used to being a giver, to receive from like 4 people would have been like I would have been in my head thinking about how I'll have to give back to them, okay, or how are they enjoying this? Are they liking it? Do they like my body? Like, are they actually getting stuff from giving to me? Like, are they feeling pleasure? Like, I would have been too worried about them. So that's really common as well. But I have a beautiful practice that I use for that to get out of all of that, and something that I'm teaching too, and I'm going to teach that in my okay, so I have a Soulgasmic Women's Tantric Sexual Healing Program coming up, starting on the 31st of October, but I have early bird bonuses for those who sign up before then. So you have to PM me for that info and that link. It's super affordable, by the way, as well. Like, the first one that I'm doing is crazy. I think crazy is the word of this live stream, but I'm crazy, literally. I'm crazy. So I've added in some actual men's sexual healing as bonuses. So men, you can't sign up for it, but if you have a lady or you have someone that's a woman, they can sign up for it, and they'll also get access to the men's sexual healing masterclass that I'm doing, and a tantric sex ritual video training that I'm doing. So what I discovered was that there's like 7 core principles to really healing yourself sexually as a woman and becoming a soulgasmic woman. And so, as I said before, it's the clearing the sexual blocks, identifying what they are, and the conditioning from childhood. It's healing shame, healing guilt and disconnection in relationships to your body, so your body shame, body image issues, and also doing things like de-armoring to heal pain and numbness that are directly connected to shame and guilt. And then also accessing high vibrational orgasms. So that's the ones I talked about before: full body, cervical, G-spot, and there's a bunch of other ones as well. I won't get into that. Moving away from the clitoral, which is actually really low vibration and really actually not very healthy. Heightening sexual chemistry. So this is healthy polarity. That's the masculine and feminine stuff, and being able to drop into surrender and vulnerability, and letting go of control. That's my friends I'm staying with just got home. I'm doing a live stream. I'm almost finished. And then, so how to deepen the soul connection with your current partner, or how to attract a lover that's more in alignment, that it's going to be inspired into action, that can really hold space for you, that you can trust. Excuse me. And really, I've learned some beautiful intimacy practices as well, to really, like, if you are in that sexual rut, how do you get out of it? How do you get back into connection? How do you get back into intimacy? So, and again, connecting to your wants. How do you connect to your wants? And how do you communicate those with someone? And make sure you do that out of the bedroom. Don't ever communicate that stuff when you're actually in the middle of the do. And so that, again, is that your conscious communication, healthy boundaries, learning what your boundaries are, and that you can have boundaries, and how to say no is really super, super important, because sometimes our body is like no, and we're like, yeah, and we're like, really, like, no. And if it's like, you need to know when it's really a no, and really tune into your body to know when it's a no, because otherwise you're not honouring yourself. Awesome, Chrissy. Yeah, I'll PM you soon too. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I work with the Wheel of Consent, which is Dr. Betty Martin, who I did like a whole 5-day workshop on this Wheel of Consent around the boundaries, and really tuning into our body, waking up the neurological pathways of touch and feeling it in our whole body. Oh, it's amazing. It's so much stuff to it, but yeah. Also, like, working with, like, looking after our yonis, like really practicing sacred care, cleansing, protection, cleansing from past lovers, working with yoni eggs, tightening up the muscles, conscious self-pleasure. And one of my favourite things is sex magic, so using oh, Leanne, that's so beautiful. Oh, I really appreciate that. It's so nice. Yeah, I do my best. I just say whatever comes out, really, at the time. So yes, sex magic is about really harnessing our sexual energy as a powerful manifester, and to heal not just ourselves but others and the planet. Like, we can literally send sexual healing anywhere in the world. It's really that powerful. That the more we focus on shifting away from the low vibrational stuff, sex that most people on the planet are having, and the high vibrational soul orgasmic way, the more that we'll be connected to everything and everyone, and the more that everything will shift on this planet. So this is why I'm so passionate about this work, is because, like, literally the more of us that keep doing this, the more that it really is going to help us be so deeply connected to ourselves, to others, to our work, to our passions, to who we really are, and being the best version of ourselves, and truly living a fully gushing, orgasmic life. Like, really, this is what is possible, where things flow, things show up for us. Like, it's ease, it's flow, and it's all possible when we really work on this part of us. So they're generally the seven principles. But with the program, I've got all these amazing guest experts on. Like, seriously, I've been talking to these women in the USA who are very, very knowledgeable, quite well known experts in their fields, featured in the media a lot, and run amazing workshops and programs all over the world. So they usually work in tantra, sexual healing. So and they have books, and it's just, I'm just so amazed. Like, I'm just so blessed that they've agreed to come on board. Like, it's so cool, so cool. So I know this is going to be a huge foundational program. So if you want to know more info on that, just PM me. As I said, like, it's super affordable as well. But I find that it's good to just have a little chat with you as well, and just see what it is, anything that you really specifically need help with. And yeah, we'll go from there. So has anyone got any questions? And also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Q&A, but I need you guys to PM me questions, right? So what I'll do is, like, maybe once a week, is I'll do like a Q&A thing, but I'll answer questions, because I know sometimes people are shy, and they're awesome because they're awesome, and they don't want to comment on my streams, right? And that's totally understandable. Like, I get that. Some of the stuff is pretty personal, and I just want you guys to know that whatever you want to share with me is confidential. Whatever you, I'm not going to judge you either. Like, it's like, I really pride myself on being non-judgmental in that space, and really holding space for you to feel completely like you can share anything with me, right? Anything. It's really important. It's a high value of mine, and I tend to have people I've just met will just share stuff with me, so it's not unusual. It's like, I've probably heard it before, let me tell you, and it surprises people when I say, oh, this is really common. People are like, oh, really? Like, I'm like, yeah, you know, some of the stuff that I really work with. So I also do coaching, if any, you know, obviously coaching and tantra and healing sessions. So if there's people on there who may not want to do a program, or maybe just want to talk to me one-on-one, of course, you can just send me a question and I will answer. I'll do like a live stream Q&A where I answer questions, but I won't use your name or anything like that, or specific details. I'll just, because you know what, I can guarantee you that someone's got the same problem. So you'll basically end up getting a, you know, coaching advice sort of session, but on how to fix that problem, but without, you know, having to pay for it. So obviously, if you want anything personal, specific, that's something that we'd have to discuss. But yeah, just feel free. Like, questions. I would love questions in my inbox. It'd be great. I had lots of things in my box. Sorry, I had to say it, including yoni eggs, and I have yoni eggs too if anyone wants some yoni eggs. But yeah, so this was supposed to be a short live stream. I was like, oh, I'm not going to go for an hour. Yeah. Oh, I'm just like, Leanne, you're just making me feel amazing. My love tank is like, woof. Yeah, I hope so. I would like that. I think the more people that speak up about this stuff, the more, yeah, I just know that the more open I am, the more it gives people permission to open up. and be vulnerable. So, and that's what heals shame. Like, and I can come from that space of empathy, and me too, or resonate, or just hold space for them, and that's when we heal, and that's when we feel safe to be seen and to be vulnerable, and that's the kind of stuff that changes lives. So that's why I'm here to do what I do. So again, feel free to reach out to me. I'm completely accessible. So, I'm fully open for receiving messages. And yeah, all right. If there is no more comments or questions, I will go, and I will hopefully, see you guys soon. I have no idea what I want to talk about next, but we will see. Awesome, Chrissy. Yes, I know. I so can't wait for Q&A. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks, Jules. Bye. Bye, everyone. Much love and sexiness to you all. I hope you have some awesome sexy times in the next couple of days or forever. Okay, how do I finish?